Welcome to the Exciting and New Podcast. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Brian.
And I'm, there's nobody over there.
No one over there. No one wanted to join us for this.
Well, today we're doing Videodrome, rated R, running time hour 27 minutes, released back on February 4th of 1983, directed by the David Cronenberger. Still alive.
Still alive. Nothing makes me happier than when you say the movie's runtime and it's less than an hour and a half. I'm like,
hour and a half is a key time.
Good,
I like that a lot.
Good movie. I love long movies. Godfather's great. Scarface is great, but less than an hour and a half. If you can tell me the whole story in less than an hour and a half, that's some good storytelling right there.
I agree. His top four, you want to try?
David Cronenberger.
Yeah.
Got any guesses over there?
No, I didn't even know he did Dead Zone.
He did Dead Zone.
I don't remember it.
we probably did his top four.
Dave was on for Dead Zone, wasn't he? Wasn't your buddy Dave on for Dead Zone?
Yeah,
we had someone on for Dead Zone.
Is he coming on for Twilight Zone next week?
Yeah, he said he'd like to do it.
He does the Zone. Is Dave all about the Zone movies?
Exactly. Yeah, he's in the Zone.
Should we do that one next week then?
Yes.
All right, so let's set that
Yeah,
up. Right.
I'll ask him.
Yeah.
Is Dead Zone or Videodrome? Or
no.
Neither one?
No.
Really?
Is The Fly?
The Fly is, yes.
Oh, now I remember. I remember them talking about The Fly.
Damn, but now
Do you like that movie, The Fly?
It was all right.
I like that movie a lot. I'm going to be getting
a
t-shirt of that coming.
Is Scanners?
No.
He did Scanners too, huh?
Yeah. We did David Cronenberger, so you should have been able to get this.
I know.
Dead Ringers, Existence, and Crash. And you were like, he did Crash? Oh, yeah, that's right, he did Crash. That was my Andy voice.
I'm still not sure he did the same Crash that I'm thinking about.
It wasn't.
It wasn't the Matt Dillon Oscar-nominated movie. That was that one. All right, I'll believe you, but
I just want to confirm it because it's nipping at my.
So I never saw Scanners, but like his practical effects are pretty good.
Oh yeah, I mean that's
so with Scanners like I remember all I know about is that people's heads
the head exploding. Yes.
Yeah, the one he did was in 1996, and it stars James Spader and Holly Hunter. So no, it's not the same.
But yeah, I mean the other Crash, The Fly is
2004. That's Paul Haggis.
Oh, okay. I guess that's the one.
That's what Uncle Paul's name, the Jim Norton character. He does Uncle Paul.
Paul Haggis?
Yeah, Paul Haggis, where he's an old pedophile. Uncle Paul.
Any uncle named Paul.
Like Charlie's uncle.
Charlie's uncle.
The IMDb description.
Jack,
A programmer at a TV station that specializes in adult entertainment searches for the producers of a dangerous and bizarre broadcast. Videodrome is a 1983 Canadian science fiction body horror film written and directed by David Cronenberger and starring James Woods, Sonia Smits, and the Deborah Harry. Set in Toronto during the early 1980s, it follows the CEO of a small UHF television station who stumbles upon a broadcast signal of snuff films. Layers of deception and mind control conspiracy unfold as he attempts to uncover the signal's source. He thought it was Malaysia.
Well, it's funny how you said Toronto twice in there, and I never ever got the feeling that this was in Canada, except at the end where they specifically say something about Toronto in this one, and
they keep showing the Space Needle. Whatever that thing is. Yeah, Toronto Canadian National
CN Tower.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't pick up on that, but they at one point talk about Toronto, and I said to myself, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know we should have had Kevin on for this. I didn't even think about it until at that point where they specifically said Toronto. I'm like, oh.
And when I kept seeing the harbor scenes, like when he went in that like tugboat thing, all I was thinking was Strange Brew. That's where they jumped the van.
I see that, and I'm just like, is that Baltimore? Is that Seattle?
Is that the Wire?
I just kept seeing the CN Tower off in the distance, and I was just
I didn't pick up on that at all.
You pick up on a lot of that.
They show a lot of that in the background.
You're always looking at the background because he's so not invested in the movie. He's just like looking at the background, like, is there any palm trees?
I see it's Canada. And I'm like, oh man, I want to go back to Canada.
Said no one ever.
Playing Max Wren was James Woods.
I like James Woods.
This is our first
James Woods.
Is he Canadian?
Is he Canadian? I don't even know if he is or not.
I don't know if he is or not. This is our first James Woods movie, though, right?
I feel like it is.
He was very young.
He was.
He's 36.
He wasn't that young.
He's 36.
Yeah.
But that's young for James Woods. He's been one of those guys that's been old for forever.
Yeah.
Like when I think of James Woods, he's always like 65.
Yeah.
Even when he was like relatively young, like in Casino or Any Given Sunday, or what's the one big one I'm missing with him?
He was born in Vernal, Utah.
Utah. Is he a Mormon? I don't care. I don't need to know.
I don't know.
Oh, you know that Katie went to see, or they all went to see the Book of Mormon?
Yes.
Katie was out with her work friends the other, last week, and she was approached by a pair of Mormon missionaries.
Nice.
Asking if she would like to go to their church.
And what'd she say?
She laughed because she couldn't believe she had literally just seen the Book of Mormon on Sunday, and here on like Wednesday, for the first time in her life, she's approached by Mormon missionaries.
Interesting.
Has to be,
I actually got a piece of mail today, and it was from the Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, wow.
And I opened it up just because I was like, what do they got to say? It said, we all know you all have your own religion. I was like, I do not. And I immediately ripped it up. I didn't go any farther than that.
You
James Woods. So anyway, it's funny when Michelle and I were driving in today. Michelle started this movie with me last night. She watched the first couple minutes. We watched the trailer first. I was like, "This is what it's all about." And she watched the trailer, and she was like, "I will need a martini right now because this looks terrible." I was like, does it really? I'm like, all right. I made her the martini. And then about 5 minutes later, she had an asthma attack, and Daniel took her to the emergency room. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So I was like, cool. I get to watch this by myself now because I didn't want to watch it with her anyway because she was being a bitch about it.
Daniel, take your mom to the hospital.
She was sitting over there going like, I'm like, what's wrong with you? She's like, I think I'm having an asthma attack. I'm like, Danny, what are you doing? I was already drinking. I mean, in my defense, I had a martini also, so I was in no condition to drive. I could have driven, but I didn't want to because I wanted to watch Videodrome. So when we were
a bee venom and peanut martini,
yes. So when we were driving in today to work, Michelle was like, "So how was that movie?" I gave her my opinion and blah blah, blah. And she's like, "I know James." Michelle is saying this. I know James Woods because he's the voice of Hades in Hercules, and of course, Family Guy.
That's in his top 4.
Is it really?
Wow.
Okay. And of course, Family Guy with him being James Woods High, and he's been on a couple episodes of that. And she's like, I don't know him. She's like, he's one of those guys that's like super famous. Everybody knows James Woods. She's like, I don't know anything from him. So I'm like, listen, I'm like, he was in this and this and this. And she's like, yeah, but he's not the star of any of those things. Like Casino, he's Lester in Casino, Sharon Stone's boyfriend, and he's in Any Given Sunday. He's the assistant coach that Al Pacino fires. And as I'm like naming some of these things, I'm like, yeah, he's not like the star of any of these things. He's kind of like the third or fourth build of those kinds of things. So he's not real like Videodrome. I don't know if that's in his top.
In his top 4. Yes.
Okay, but he's not really actually.
You don't see him all
a superstar,
No.
But I think of him as a superstar. Like I hear James Woods, I'm like, oh, James Woods. I'm like, I like him.
He's
I know
definitely
him.
a big name. He's a big right wing.
He is. Yes, he is a big right wing guy. But I don't hold that against him. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying that's where he's at. Like he's outspoken about that a lot now. He's a big Trump guy, and
because we were talking about it, that's why Katie popped into my head for that, because Hercules is her favorite Disney movie.
Oh, is it?
And she used to, when she was a little tiny little girl, she would go, "Ooh, is my hair out?"
And now she's like, I hate James Woods because he's anti whatever she's
into. And then she's like, you know what? I'm joining this church.
And I think Michelle might say Hercules might not be her number 1, but it might be her number 2.
Oh,
she loves that movie. She loves Hercules.
Nice. Hercules.
So anyway, James Woods, Hercules, Videodrome.
I'm going to give you another 2. Vampires. And the Virgin Suicides.
I remember growing up, before I really knew who James Woods was, because it was before I saw Videodrome when I was a kid. He was in a movie called Salvatore. I don't know if it's El Salvador
like
or
Salvador or Salvatore, the name.
I just remember it was like one of those movies I saw commercials for all the time. And he was either nominated or starring James Woods, Salvador. I'm like,
he's got a good movie man.
Yeah.
Movie
but I don't know what that movie
Coming
was.
to a theater
I don't know if it was
near you.
about El Salvador. I don't know if some guy named Salvatore. I'm not really sure what that movie was about. I never saw it. I never decided to look it up, but
I never went on a James Woods movie marathon.
I don't think he's got it.
Yeah.
I feel he's one of those
With
guys.
that top four, I don't know.
Yeah, two of them, Virgin Suicides. I don't know that, and the other one I've never heard of.
Playing Nikki Brand was Debbie Harry.
Nice.
We just looked up how old she is. How old do you think Debbie Harry is?
69.
And that's a smart guess because she was like big in the late 70s, early 80s, except for the fact that Jason had said she was already old by Blondie. Like she was older than
really?
You thought she was 25, but she was really like 35.
Damn.
She's 78.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, she's older than like all those late 70s, early 80s stars because she was already older.
Yep.
Wow.
Because I was shocked.
It's a year younger than my mom.
And I was shocked when they said Alexa told us she was 78. I'm like, but how is that possible that she's older than everybody else? And we started naming like David Byrne and those guys that she was in the same circle with, and she's older than them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because she was born before them. That's how that works.
Videodrome is in her top four.
I know for a fact.
My
Jack,
Life Without Me is also in her top four. I'll let you try to get the other two.
Oh, I don't think I'll get the other. I know she was in Copland with Stallone and De
That's not in her
Niro
top
and
four.
Ray Liotta and
That's a good
bunch
movie.
of yeah, and I don't remember her part in that. I just don't remember she was in it.
Yeah, I don't know anything she's in.
She was also in Hairspray. And
Is that the musical
The
with
new
John
Hairspray?
Travolta?
I think it was
wow.
the older one.
Oh.
Yeah, the 80s one, maybe.
Never saw it.
And then Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
Oh, was she really? Is that Bordella's Blood or whatever?
No, not that. I think that was the sequel.
Oh, is that a sequel?
Yeah,
Oh,
this
okay.
is the first one. Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. Yeah.
And she was in Blondie. That should be first on her list.
Yeah, right.
I know it's
You would
not.
think that would
but
be.
it's the
So this is the IMDb.
movie.
It's the internet.
The M
movie. Yeah.
is movie, not music.
She's the blonde one from Blondie.
She was not very blonde in this.
No.
No, she had more.
Is she a
brownish
natural?
red, right?
Is she a natural blonde? Dyed her hair red, or is that her natural hair
Yeah,
color?
that's
in
a good
this one?
question.
She
I'm not
didn't have
sure.
any ass hair to be able to tell.
She and James Woods, when they were spooning there, were so smooth.
I know.
There was no
Even
way.
James Wood was super smooth.
There
We
was
did
no
not
way
need to
that's
see
his body.
silhouette. We did
Yeah.
not need to see. But the rumor is he's legendary down there.
Oh,
That's the rumor that you hear.
wow.
Yeah.
James Woods does not look face wise that he would be so super smooth down below. I'm like, what's
No.
going on with that side ass leg thing? I'm like,
I wanted
wow.
to touch him.
Yes, he looks silky. I was like, wow. I'm like, he has no hair.
Yeah, there's just no need for him to see that silhouette, like that whole laying down there. You
Yeah.
didn't need that.
I hope you've reached the end of your cast.
I got a
because-
couple more.
Do you really? Because I didn't know anybody else.
I'm just going to bring him up. Harlan was Peter Dvorsky. I'm not going to bring. He was also in Dead Zone.
Oh, okay. That was the guy that he was
That was
working
his
with
partner,
him.
yeah.
Okay. He was in Dead Zone too. I don't remember him in that. I don't
Yeah.
remember what he
But
played.
then
in
there
that.
was Barry Convex. That was Leslie Carlson. He was also in Dead Zone.
Oh,
He was also in A Christmas Story. He was the guy who sold them the Christmas tree.
really?
in A
when
Christmas Story.
when his dad bartered. And He's
Yeah.
like, my dad loved to make a deal.
He was also in The Fly.
So David Cronenberg had a troupe.
Yeah, it looks like it. Then playing Brian Oblivion.
And I wrote a lot of notes down that as the movie went along, I'm like, oh, okay, it's been explained, because when I said Oblivion, I'm like, are we really serious that this is this guy's name? Oblivion. I'm like, this has to be a joke,
Yeah.
right? And then it's
It obviously
explained
is,
later that that's not really his name. I'm like, oh, it's not really.
It's not really his name, but then his daughter took his name.
Yes, she took his fake name. That's like Sting's children being like John Sting because
Oh, you mean
dad's name is
you mean
Sting.
Bianca Oblivion?
Yes.
He was in his top four is interesting. It was Videodrome, Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol, and Police Academy 3, Back in Training.
Was he the chief? Like that? But
He's
not
the old. He's one
not
of the
the
old, he's
commandant.
the old,
the
he's
chief.
the old guy. He's one of the old guy.
I know, man. I've seen Police Academy 3 a million
I'm
times.
trying to- I can't
picture him in that.
I can see him. I can't explain it. It's hard to. Jack.
You made a like a
Yeah.
put your arms out like Popeye.
Police Academy 3. That's
That
their first
dude.
mission.
The old guy. Yeah.
Is he one of the cops or is he like a citizen? Okay, I guess that's that part deserved to be in part 4 as well. 3 and 4. We need that old guy back for part 4.
He carried over.
We need some continuity. Put the old man back in whatever outfit that was.
And then I had Lynn Gorman, and she played Masha.
Oh, Marsha.
She only had a top 2. No, it's Masha.
She looked familiar, but she only had 2
M-A-S-H-A,
things,
Masha.
right?
Masha.
Yeah, it's like Mash.
Masha,
There's no
Masha.
R in there. Yeah, Masha.
She looked familiar, but she
She only
didn't
had a
do
top
anything.
2.
Yeah.
The Nutcracker Prince and Videodrome.
Wow. I must have watched the Nutcracker Prince because Katie watched every single version of the
You may have
Nutcracker.
seen that then. Yeah.
Is that
10 million
Is that the
times.
Nutcracker suite done a different way? Is that what that is?
I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
just different. There's so many different versions, like the ballet versions of it.
Wow, man, that is
Katie
one
had to have
Christmas
every
thing
copy.
that's made no imprint on my life ever.
Oh,
Apparently,
I love having boys. I mean, that sounded wrong. My children are.
Can we get that? And we need that for a clip to put on on all our social media.
I never had to watch any ballets with my children. I never had to watch any plays. Really, we dragged my kids to plays because we're like, this will be good for you.
I've been to so many dance recitals. It's insane.
I can
And
imagine.
I
Yeah.
never had to do
are.
that.
How about
insane.
gymnastics? Did you do any of that?
Carrie did gymnastics for a little bit, but she never did like competitions. It was just
Yeah.
once a week. But oh my God, the dancing and the recitals. Oh my God.
I look back on the
Insane.
last like 30 years of my life, and there was none of that. Never had to go. I mean, lots of sports, lots of terrible games to sit through, but I'll take a terrible baseball game over any kind of dance competition. Holy shit.
I filmed one of the recitals that I discovered lately, and it's like hours long. I'll bring it over, and then you can get the feeling of what it's like to sit there and watch little girls dance for
I remember when
hours
I think
on
Andy
end.
got in trouble for that once.
Well, I remember when we went to Michelle's sister's dance recital before I don't think we were married yet because I'm thinking of her age and we were either not married yet or just married. Daniel wasn't even born. And it was one of those things where she was going on first because she was one of the younger ones, but you weren't allowed to leave.
No.
It was rude to leave. So you had
Yeah.
to stay. And I'm like, but she went already. Oh, you can't leave. I'm like, but it's scheduled for 4 more hours. And Michelle's like, but you can't leave. I'm like, she's not even my fucking kid. I'm like, I am leaving. I am getting up and walking out. And whenever I went to like a baseball game that went into extra innings and I've been there for like 2 hours, I would think back on that and being like, oh, man, it could be so much worse. It could be so much worse. Because I mean, baseball games suck, and watching like 8-year-olds play baseball doubly
even
suck.
worse, yeah.
But man, I would take that and a punch to the dick over having to go to any kind of
like the guy at the
recital again.
concert.
That's what Brady was good for, is because I could just sit there and start pinching him, and he'd start crying as a baby, and then I would just be like, I got to take him out of here. Then I could get out.
And I do that to Brady now at work. I pinch him, he starts bitching like a little.
There were 3 different endings for this movie that were filmed, but the ending that they used was James Wood's idea.
Wait, so they filmed 3 different
They
endings?
have 3 different filmed
wow, I think I
endings,
want
yeah.
to see those 3 filmed
Yeah, I don't know if they're
endings.
available. Maybe on any of the special editions, Blu-rays or anything.
I
like that.
liked the ending to this movie, but I felt like,
Soprano-esque.
yeah, like I needed a little bit more afterwards. I wanted to see the cleanup.
Yeah.
Was this for real? Was this not for real? Because it had one of those kinds of surreal feelings to it. So
They had to double James Woods in the scene with where they put a helmet on his head because they were both afraid that he might get electrocuted.
I did hear about
This was
that.
a
Didn't
dangerous
David
set,
Cronenberg?
dude,
He did
it.
those
Yeah,
scenes.
he was double.
wait, so when he put the helmet on at the optometrist place, like they thought he was going to electrocute
He
James
thought he
Woods?
was going
They
to.
thought he was going to electrocute it from the
He was
actual
worried
helmet,
about
like
it.
in real life.
So David Cronenberg sat it because you know why I know that is because I thought that helmet was cool and I was like, can I get that helmet? So I
Can you get it?
I
Ah.
Googled it and then I saw the whole
That was definitely a weird looking helmet, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Like
it
they-
was,
you don't
yeah.
see anything like that. I mean, it looked like it should have went the other way, like almost.
It bothered me that he knew how to put it on because I'm like, because he flipped it around and put it on correctly. And I'm like, that's not how I was thinking it was going to go on.
It didn't look like it should have went on that way. Yeah, I agree,
And I was like, how did he know to do that?
unless there was a way when you're looking right at it, maybe I don't know. But yeah,
he was looking at the back of
Yeah.
it. So
I thought the same thing though. Yeah,
I felt this movie felt like one of those.
Billy's going off, isn't
Yeah.
she?
yeah,
Let me
someone's
see
here.
if Danny can like calm her down.
I mean, is she okay?
Who cares? I felt that this movie felt like one of those near future kind of movies where it wasn't today, but it was like next week kind of things, like almost like how Clockwork Orange isn't like
Funny you
today, it's
say
in the
that.
future.
Because Andy Warhol called this movie a Clockwork Orange of the 1980s.
Wow.
I'm quoting Andy Warhol here. But this felt like it wasn't current. It was 1983's version of what 1990 would be or something like that with the technology that they had, because they were using Betamax tapes and no one was using that.
I also
shit.
got this for you. Debbie Harry dyed her signature blonde hair red for this movie.
Oh, so she is a natural blonde,
yes.
or she was at least
She looked good in
She was
red.
at least a signature blonde.
Mm-hmm. And did you know that the majority of the trailer, so the trailer that you played for Michelle,
Yep.
the majority of that trailer was created with a Commodore 64 computer.
Oh man,
I had a Commodore 64
I
in
did too.
1983, probably.
I had a Commodore 128.
I had the Commodore 64 and I had the Commodore VIC 20.
Ooh. I didn't get my Commodore 128 though till 1987.
I don't remember what year it was, but I remember I was young. But yeah,
I had a Commodore 64, and then I think the next personal computer I had in my house was like an Apple II GS or something like that.
That's right around the time those guys started. And then Mac came out that time too.
Eh.
The
I
first
thought
Mac.
this was interesting. The character of Barry Convex, that was, you know who that was, right?
He was the boss
Black
of the
hair
whole
and
thing.
everything. They based him off of televangelist Jim Baker.
I
Interesting.
can
Kinda looked
definitely
like that,
see that.
right?
Yeah.
I
He
think
reminded me
yeah.
of the guy. He actually reminded me of the guy from the Deadpool movie that was like the one that recruited Wade to do the test that made him a mutant. And he kept calling him a pedophile. And he's like, I just want you to know you're within like 500 yards of a school right now and stuff like that. Every time I saw him, like he looks like that creeper from Deadpool, but obviously he couldn't possibly be because the movies are 40 years apart. But
He did that whole scene where he like came out on the stage when he got shot.
yeah, that was a great scene. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
dancers like were all sitting there on the stage watching him, and he was, I know all of you.
But he was supposed to be kind of like anti-sex, right? Or wasn't that his whole deal? Like he was, like he created Videodrome to kind of get the
Wasn't sex part of
to
the
weed
violence
out,
and
to
sex?
weed out
the sex and violence and stuff like that.
to make, I guess, to kill people that watch TV.
Had any kind of urges?
yeah.
Any kind of urge?
Anybody who was stimulated by violence or sex.
Not me, no. Which is interesting is that this movie didn't do well in the box office, but it's part of the Criterion Collection, so it's like it's obviously been something, but it just didn't have that following.
I think I'd like
in
to
the
see
theaters,
the
you know?
high def Criterion version of this.
I would
'cause
like to see this in the theaters.
I felt like the
think.
Peacock
That would be
version of
pretty
this
cool.
did not look good sometimes. I was like, and I'm like, I feel
Sleepaway
like,
Camp looked better. Is that what you're saying?
No. Sleepaway Camp looked wretched. This,
I'd like to talk about Sleepaway Camp some more.
Did you watch it again?
No, I haven't. But I've got Sleepaway Camp. The
Two's on
next one.
Prime. I want to watch.
Yeah,
that.
I got that queued up.
I
to
told
watch.
him. Funny story is my client contact at work. I told him I watched Sleepaway Camp over the weekend. Him and his wife watched Sleepaway Camp too over the
Really?
weekend. Yeah, it's just so
Damn.
weird.
I can't wait to watch 4 because then Felissa Rose comes
She comes back, yeah,
I want to see if Angela's penis got any
and I
bigger.
can't wait to. I can't wait to meet her at the next chiller or one of
Oh,
those that
yeah.
she comes to. I'm going to definitely go up to her.
she was, even though she was a boy, she was still a 13-year-old boy. I didn't have that many pubes when I was the
She
13-year-old.
had
My
a
God.
lot of pubes.
There was a full bush going
Real quick,
on.
tell them
down
what
there.
you read earlier. before you got
yeah.
here.
So we were actually like, I was like, oh, we didn't actually discuss like how'd they film that scene? Like, what did they do there actually? Because
I was like, was it prosthetic?
Something that
There was no CGI.
they did something there. So apparently, because she was only 13, they didn't do the
And her mom.
and her mom was involved in this. They didn't do her standing there with a fake dick. They got a college student that they said got drunk. They got him drunk to film the scene where he was going to stand there and made a plaster mold of Angelica's face and made a mask. And that's a guy wearing an Angelica mask.
Angela
wearing an Angela mask.
Angela Baker.
With his nakedness underneath, so it's
damn,
yeah. So like,
how crazy is
it's
that?
weird that you look at that face when she's screaming. It feels like I don't know. It feels like there's motion there.
Like, is that face real? And we're like, it kind of feels.
I guess when they do the close-ups when she was doing that, it was her. But then when they pan back, it was like a freaky. Because the next day I pulled it up on my computer and found a still of that. Because I'm trying to what the hell is that?
Andy was going to get that tattoo.
Like she had such broad shoulders and everything. So
because it was a guy.
Now that makes sense. I was titillated and I shouldn't have been.
But we know why you were.
That's what I mean. It makes all sense.
Because it was a college boy.
Speaking of which, as I was watching, this was another note that I wrote down that I'm like, oh, they're going back to that. Because when they were watching the video at the very beginning of the movie when he was trying to find stuff to put on his channel 83 or whatever that was, and Samurai Dreams comes on, I was like, Brian is currently searching the internet for copies of Samurai Dreams. Oriental sex.
What was the whole
that was part? Oriental sex. It's not natural.
Is it natural?
Is it natural? He's like, but it's not tacky enough either. So Oriental sex.
It said the film suffered from cuts theatrically due to a studio executive who disliked sex toys and ratings problems with the MPAA. All the cut footage was restored for the unrated video release.
Damn, I think I need to see that version
I need
of this
to see
movie.
this as well.
Actually, that clip I got was from the unrated, but I haven't watched it.
Did you not watch it on Peacock?
I watched it on Peacock, but in order to get that clip, I had to download a copy, and it was the unrated copy. And I'll probably go back and watch it.
How much longer was it? Do you know?
No, I didn't compare.
I did.
I just went right
look
to
at
that
it next
scene.
time you get a chance. Look at it because this was an hour and 27. So I'm curious how many.
I'll see how long.
4 hours and 17 minutes.
Then it's like I can't wait to see this.
A little more Debbie.
How much Oriental sex will be in that?
Oh yeah.
And it ended up he thought it was going on in Malaysia, but it ended up going on in Pittsburgh.
It's a happening town.
Yeah. Steelers play there,
But Connor, when I was talking to Connor about it this morning, and I said they think it's coming from Malaysia, but it's actually in Pittsburgh. Connor goes, "Of course."
Did he watch?
I was like, "What's that?"
Of course.
No one watched that with me.
It was a box office flop, but it's included in the 1001 movies you must see before you die.
Wow.
Which I think's interesting.
Mm,
I didn't think the Videodrome videos he was watching though. There was nothing. Didn't seem anything special about
it. Was
them.
probably a lot worse, but they had to cut it.
Yeah,
that's what
they cut out all the good ones.
Yeah, so that's you got the good.
I'll find out. Yeah, I'll take a look.
Because what they show the girl getting whipped.
Yeah.
And it was kind of grainy too. Remember? So
I just remember thinking this is like on regular television now. This isn't anything special.
I was like, is this Law and Order?
This movie is definitely. This movie is 20 years ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Like this movie's so far ahead of its time. That's why I was thinking. That's why I was thinking like this is a near future kind of movie because now this stuff's just on like. I think Sesame Street had a chick getting whipped.
The VHS
today,
tapes were like breathing, and
that was great.
And the way the one was like, it looked like it was like almost like bacon. Like
the last one that she put in them. Yeah,
Snuffleupagus.
Snuffleupagus was
snuff.
He was a snuff film guy.
When he got
is that what he got his name?
The hand inside.
The hand
it
inside.
Looked real, man.
Yeah,
That
I rewound it because I was like, how'd they do that?
The belly vagina.
It really looks good.
Like the practical effects were good.
When he like when Barry, right? That's the bad guy. When he puts the tape into James Woods, like. When it happened, I'm like, oh, they must have made a cut there. And so I rewound it to look at it. He's against the wall, full body, and they show him shoving his hand into him. I'm like, how are they doing that? How are they doing that in 1983? There's no CGI to that. It was
done really well.
Like I thought that was one of the best shots in the entire movie.
They actually used Betamax tapes. It wasn't VHS.
I had to look that up because I'm like, I've never seen that.
They were so much. You could tell how much smaller they were.
Yeah. The VHS were too large to fit into the stomach. It said.
Well, then I went down a rabbit hole of Betamax versus VHS, and Betamax was better.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
But it just lost the war.
But porn went to VHS when porn decided they were going to release on VHS. It was all over.
One of my existing memories of Betamax was right? Our buddy Dan had Rodney Dangerfield's Young Comedian special on Betamax, and he had a Betamax player in like his guest room just set up. I mean, we're talking in the late 80s, early 90s, 10 years after Betamax has ceased to exist, but 10 years before the internet. So every once in a while, we're like, let's watch that Young Comedian special. And on Betamax,
was that the only tape he had?
The only one I ever saw, yeah. So he might have had some porn, but
well, in my rabbit hole, 2016 was when Sony stopped making blank Betamax tapes.
2016?
2016.
They were making them that late?
Who was buying them?
I have no idea. Someone had a Betamax
That's
machine.
Like 20 years after, or more than 30 years after.
They said it ended 40 years after it died.
Wow.
Yeah. VHS ended sooner.
Yeah, that was dead before 2016.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so funny because like that almost makes me think, I wonder if that's how like Blu-ray was backed by Sony. I wonder if they were like, we're not losing this one.
Yeah.
We're not losing this one because it was Blu-ray versus like high def DVDs. And
they threw it in the PlayStation.
And they were just like, nah, we got burned on Betamax. We are not losing this upgrade.
They stuck it on the PlayStation.
Yeah, I think that's how they won it. Yeah. When they were first watching what was it called? Samurai Dreams. And the guy was like pirating them. But at first I'm like, what's he like? Is he like stealing a signal from like someone else? And of course it turned out to be that. And then when he tracked down the actual creator, I guess, of Samurai Dreams, and the guy started the first tape, he's like, no. Go to the third tape. He's like, why not? He's like, my audience isn't going to see the first 2 episodes. I'm like, why is his audience not going to see the first 2 episodes? What's that mean? Does that mean that
they only want the sex part?
Well, I was thinking that like no one's it's going to catch on later where they're like, oh, I started watching it at the 3rd episode because I caught it late one night.
To the
he wanted to get to the sex, but I just thought it was so funny. He's like, yeah, my audience is going to see the first 2 episodes. I was like,
and how did they know to bring everything in Betamax?
Well, I guess that's what the movie required. That's what they were watching it on.
They did ask him what tape he did prefer at one point. Remember, she asked Bianca asked him what. She said that he would get a tape of her dad, and she said, "What format would you want it in?" That
was funny when she went to my dad's behind the door there, and they went behind the door, and all the tapes were like different sizes. You could just see like VCR, beta, like all the boxes were like all these different sizes. So I was like, this guy's recording his Death Cab Confession stuff on multiple medias. He would have been so much better in this era with just like putting on a flash driver, just the internet.
There were thousands of tapes, and she said he did 3 or 4 a day.
Oh, that would get you 1,000 after a couple of years, I guess, right?
Maybe. I mean,
took him a long time to die.
3 a day would get you almost 1,000, right?
But how long was Videodrome around for, infecting people's brains with cancer before that? Years? Was it around years? I was a little sketchy.
How many people were in that room? That's all the people that they had. There wasn't any more, right?
No.
I mean, that was it for that. They were trying to get more, obviously.
Oh, their little cubicles that they had set up there where they were getting the homeless people in there. That's a good use of the homeless right there. Just get them on Videodrome.
They had like nurses like walking through.
We got to make sure you last through this one scene. Sorry. Can I check your pulse?
I'm running low on notes, kids. What do you got?
I got to be honest. Like, this was not a big notes movie for me because I was actually invested watching it. I'm like, I noticed at one point, I'm like, I haven't typed anything in a while, but I do have other things.
I will say, and now that you are the video word made flesh, Bianca Oblivion said that, and then long live the new flesh was Max Wren said that. But you are the video word made flesh. I thought that was a strange, interesting way of saying
very religious.
Right? Yeah.
So here are some of the things I've written down. At one point, they said this is for the subterranean market. And the first thing I thought about was like, The exciting and new podcast is built for the subterranean market.
We are.
Or subterranean audience, sorry. When he was in his apartment, after he'd already hooked up with Debbie Harry, and someone came to
when she burned her
after that. But he has a big board in back of his, like he was talking in front of this big white sheet, and it had all these little squares on it. And I was just like, I know I'm bringing this up and I don't know what it is, but it looked like one of those magic eye things. I was like, are we supposed to look at this? Should I look at this from a certain angle?
Oh, schooner.
Exactly. No, stupid. It's a boat.
A schooner is a sailboat, you idiot.
Was that maybe a programming matrix?
Possibly. It was huge.
Yeah, maybe.
It took up his whole wall. I was like, what the hell is that thing? He's drinking Johnny Walker Red. He has a picture of Hitler doing ballet or something behind
I saw
him.
that one.
Yes, I saw that.
I caught it and I'm like, what is that? And I rewound it. I'm like, is it Hitler doing ballet? And then the scene changed.
A high step,
but then they went back to it. I'm like, oh yeah, there's Hitler doing ballet. And so I, of course, started like doing my Hitler on Ice and Jews in Space thing. At that point, I think Daniel was watching it with me. He's like, what are you saying? I'm like, nothing. When who's Oblivion? What's his name? Whatever.
Ryan Oblivion.
When he's got his movie playing where he calls him out directly, he's like, Max, blah, 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 blah. Which, how do you know? Like, how?
Yeah, he should have been dead for a while.
Like, how did he know he was, like, did he have tapes for everybody? Brian, I'm watching. Like, oh, fuck, how do you know?
It may have been because
just go down the list. Brian, Bob, Benny, blah, blah, blah. Just
how about real quick, when they were on the talk show and, like, he just turned to Debbie Harry and, like, you could hear him talking.
He's hitting on her as the host is talking to.
She's, like, so nervous.
She's talking to Oblivion, and he's just, like, sitting there going, like, so you want to get dinner after this? James Woods does definitely have that, like, lecherous kind of vibe to him all the time. Like, so what are you doing after this?
He even did it on Family Guy.
He did it, like, in everything he's been in. He's always plays that role. That's great. But he had Atari controllers up on top of his TV, and he definitely had Combat. He definitely had
was one of them. I was trying to make out that other game. I could not make it out.
I was like, nice.
I wanted to say that. I was like, damn.
Oh, sorry.
No, I wanted to see what that other game was. I couldn't figure out what it was. Yeah.
Victoria and I were actually, Vicky and I were actually talking about Atari controllers today, because I was talking about how Michelle's mom, when their Atari controllers used to break, because they broke very easily, would go to like Sears and buy a new Atari and then swap out the controllers and then just return it and get store credit or whatever, or cash back or something like that. And that's how they kept having like new controllers.
Those would break on me more than the other. I mean, that rubber thing would pop off
all the time,
but then the paddles would break. That's the thing I always had problems with, the paddle.
The rubber thing that's like on a car shifter.
Yep. Yeah. You got anything in your inner monologue, or
no? That's just the vagina stomach.
Well, I thought when he was sitting there rubbing the gun at first, and he had the holster, he was shirtless, with the holsters on. I was like, this is the hottest James Wood has ever thought of himself. Like, look at me, I'm shirtless. I got my gun holsters on. I'm just rubbing my stomach with my gun. And I guess I don't really quite understand how. So his stomach vagina opens up. Was he actually storing his gun inside him? Because
gun was inside
he reached in later and grabbed it out, and then it all like trapped and it melded around his hand.
When it had those metal spikes,
that was wild. That was like some really good special effects there. It's so funny in 2023 watching a 1983 special effects shot, because it's so obviously like a piece of cake or whatever that hand is.
Like Brian said, that was really good effect.
But I thought it was really good. I'm like, wow, that really, like, they tried,
still holds up today
so hard to make that look like a real hand. It's obviously not a real hand, but it's really cool how invested they were in saying, we got to make that look like a real hand. And these metal screws are going to come flying through. I was like, oh, wow, that looks painful. If that wasn't cake, that would look really painful.
Well, who wants to go first?
I did not get a Michelle score. Like I said, Michelle watched the trailer and said, nope. Yeah. Michelle said, I got to go to the hospital. You know what? I like this movie a lot. I felt like this kind of this movie is an early indicator of what's going to happen in America in 30 years. I felt this like kind of predated reality TV. Like you can see a lot of reality TV in this movie. Yes. And I also felt like it set up a lot of movies like The Ring and The Matrix and any kind of like virtual reality or video kind of nonsense. You can see,
Cronenberg definitely influenced a lot.
As I'm watching this, I was like, wow, I see a lot in there. But I would like to see this remade in 2023. I would actually, I am never for remakes.
Brandon should remake it.
I am never, ever for remakes. I would like to see this movie remade with like 2023 special effects.
His son needs to do
and kind of like see what they futuristically want to use. I mean, obviously it would be like the internet now affecting these people with Videodrome. And you can hire James Woods to be like the bad guy.
He could be Barry Convict.
Make him the bad guy. And I would be all for. I would watch a remake of this movie today. This movie felt a little dated just because of it being 1983, but I enjoyed it. I give this a 75. I had fun watching this, and I would definitely watch it again. And I am actually going to seek out if there's an uncut, longer version. I want to watch that.
Yeah, let us know what the length of that.
Just like we said with like Apocalypse Now, Redux. Like I never want to watch it again, but Redux. I want to watch it one time to see all the stuff that they cut out because I had fun watching this, and if they add another half hour, I'd probably have fun with that too.
I'm very close and square to yours. I enjoyed this movie. I like this movie. I don't remember the first time I saw it, but oh
yeah, I saw this in high school.
Was that the first time? That's probably
at Chris Martinez's house in like 1987.
I want to say
like
I was probably in high school when I saw it. But it's always been one of those movies that just it sticks with you, that stomach. I've always you can always see it, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. But yeah, I gave it a 78. I really like this movie.
Nice.
Yeah. I was also shocked about Debbie Harry's boob. I was like, oh, we're getting that thrown at us? Okay, I'll take it, Debbie Harry. And she burned it, but she actually covered up her nipple while she did that. But you definitely saw a boob when they were like,
he was like, don't do it.
Don't do it. No. And was she dead at the end, or do we know? Like, because she was talking to him after they said they
it could have been in his imagination.
Yeah. Are you hallucinating yet? Should I be? Brian, what do you think?
So
a 2.
I wish I probably if I'd seen this before Sleepaway Camp.
Are you comparing all movies to Sleepaway Camp now? You see
this one's way too close to Sleepaway Camp.
You see one 13-year-old's penis, and that's fucked up your whole mind. You can't create another movie ever again. I don't know. Empire Strikes Back used to be good, but maybe if we saw Luke's dick.
This Godfather movie you keep talking about? No.
Well, this is the first time I saw it. And I'm still was on the high of Sleepaway Camp. So unfortunately, was comparing it to that.
But don't compare it to it.
But so I'm going to give it a 65.
That's good for you though.
Yeah, no, I didn't speed it up. I didn't feel the need to speed it up.
Oh, I did ask Connor that. I'm like, did you watch Videodrome with your father-in-law? He's like, no. I'm like, was he watching it at 2x speed? Because I feel this might be a movie he's 2-timing it.
Only an hour and 27, so it's not.
He wanted to get it done in a half hour, 3 times.
It's over 40 minutes. You're like, what?
But I really like the practical special effects. The storyline was kind of all over the place.
Not a great premise, but not executed all that well.
It felt like they were missing, like the stuff that got cut out of it obviously made it work better.
How does a Hollywood studio allow that to happen? Like, hey, I got this script that we've approved. Now we're going to make a movie. Oh yeah, cut the middle part out. Like, what?
It's not.
How's that gonna? We already filmed it.
It's not bringing in more people that way.
That's why Sleepaway Camp is probably so good. Is because there was no studio over it, or not a good studio.
Yeah.
I guess that's last week's. But
critics for this one, Rotten Tomatoes critics 81%, and the audience 80%. So we're right around there with us. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was better than I remembered it being. I
recommend you both watch the kid Brandon Cronenberg's Infinity Pool. Both of you should watch it.
Infinity.
Now, when's the last time David Cronenberg did anything? Like, is he like retired? Is he 90 years old and just doesn't? I mean, Clint Eastwood still makes movies.
What besides Infinity Pool? What did Brandon Cronenberg?
That's I don't know. Not much. He doesn't have much out right now. Yeah.
And he's probably like 50.
Yeah,
like
he's
if David
probably our
Cronenberg's
age.
so old, he's got to be old.
Let's see.
That's like when I heard that Chris Tolkien.
He did 7 episodes of Star Trek Discovery.
I didn't like that.
He
When
did
Chris
8 episodes
Tolkien,
of
I found out he was
Slasher.
like JRRR. He was like doing the maps and like kind of like keeping his whole legacy alive and doing all. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like his son's doing that.
He did Jason X.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Wait, who did?
No, he played Dr. Wimmer in Jason X.
Oh, okay. But I was like, oh, that's pretty cool that Chris Tolkien's like trying to like take it on his dad's mantle and helping out till he figures out what he wants to do in life. And then I found out Chris Tolkien's like 80 years old at the time. I'm like, oh, this dude has dedicated his entire life to like preserving his dad's legacy. Like no chance to have your own life. Just keep milking your dad. Keep milking your dad.
Yeah, he's only directed 10 things. Infinity Pool.
Discovery, Star Trek Discovery.
This is Brandon now.
Yeah, I didn't like Star Trek Discovery. I stopped that after like a couple
his son
episodes.
did Possessor, Infinity Pool. That's the only 2 that look like anything.
And he acted in Jason X.
That was David did. Yeah,
Oh,
he
David did.
Yeah, David. This is Brandon. I was talking about David before. Yeah,
David was in Jason X. Jesus Christ, really?
he played Dr. Wimmer. I think I kind of remember. I'm trying to think.
That's the one on the spaceship. Jason goes to space.
Oh.
So you're going to ask Dave to come on for Twilight Zone, the movie. I mean, just make sure it's streaming or available at least.
Oh my God. This is like, we've been talking about this movie since the start of this podcast. This is like a
super popular movie.
Would it be funny if we didn't bring it up when we actually did the movie? We didn't bring that up at all.
Oh yeah, that shit. What's his name? I don't even remember his name now.
Vic Morrow.
Vic Morrow. That Vic Morrow part. Yeah. So whatever happened to him? Did he not do anything after this? Nah. Oh, okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to the Scatman Crothers one.
It's streaming on Canopy. I don't know what that is with a K.
Oh Christ.
But
that's it, and that's the only thing. Canopy.
It's rentable on Amazon, and Apple TV, and everything. But
for $4, I'm in.
Canopy is streaming. I don't free HD Canopy Kanopy. I don't
never heard of that.
I have heard of Spreaker because that's where you can get our podcast. Download, rate, subscribe, review the exciting and new podcast on all our socials. It's the Jazoo over there on Instagram, Jazoo74 on Twitter. This has been the exciting and new podcast. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy. Is Canopy the one that the people did their 30-second clips and stuff like that?
That was Quibi.
Oh, Quibi. Okay, sorry. I was thinking about that. I was like, they put it on that. AEGonzo1 on Twitter, AEGonzo1970 on Instagram, or possibly backwards. If you reach out to me, I'll give you $1.
And I'm Brian, Papa Bad Kitty.
Can I buy our likes? I'll buy my likes. I'll buy that for $1.